take projection.
It's Friday morning, and you know what that means? It's time for another episode of the Alabama Slam Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Hanna.
What's going on, guys? It's Patrick Akers.
And we've got a lot to catch up on because last week we had a guest, and so we missed some of the news from last week. And we hope you enjoyed our conversation with Cabana Man Dan. We had a lot of fun with that. And so now we need to circle back. We missed the big announcement about the new belt in WWE. And then we had the draft that happened Friday night, and then again on Monday. Not too many shakeups. I mean, there were a couple shakeups, but not as many as I expected. I think I thought there would be more, and I thought maybe they would break up some of the teams because I feel like they've done that in the past, like they broke apart New Day at one point. But yeah, pretty much. I mean, you saw anywhere from 3 to 5 people get picked at once and brought over to one show or the other. So go ahead and give me some of your thoughts on the best moves or what happened in the draft.
Well, I want to talk about the World Heavyweight Championship unveiling first.
Gotcha.
All leading up to WrestleMania, we had heard the rumors out there that WWE wants to split the titles off Roman, but they don't know how to do it. And people have speculated leading up to WrestleMania, maybe Roman defends one belt one night at WrestleMania and the other belt the other night. Turns out none of that happened. And so I reckon that the solution to getting the belt off Roman and having another separate world champion is to just not get the belt off of Roman at all and to pull a fucking – what was the last Star Wars movie where Oscar Isaac's basically just like somehow Palpatine's return?
Yeah.
That's just how they just got into it that way. They were like, fuck it, we'll just make a new belt.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, out of all the ways to do that, that's the laziest way because you have no narrative there's nothing in the storyline that allows you to get to that point. You just kind of make it happen. And also, if you remember, we talked about after WrestleMania, why so many people were still just kind of like reverent towards Roman Reigns and acting like he was this great champion when essentially he's just a chicken shit heel. And I think what was kind of interesting a little bit, and they should have ran with it more, and maybe they will, who knows, but basically Triple H 2 weeks ago when he's doing his about to unveil the championship, he's like, this is going to be a belt that you can be proud of. This is going to be a champion who won't ask for your acknowledgement, but earn it. I mean, basically running down Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins does the same thing when he comes out. But it's just the whole thing I thought was just like odd. Now, I think it's the right move to have another belt. And I think it's a right move to have a true brand split, if that's what this is going to be, and it should be, where Raw has their own champion, SmackDown has their own champion. It looks like the tag team titles are going to go back and forth. Sammy and KO looks like they might be pulling double duty on both shows, which I guess is fine, but you would have to think at some point they probably split those titles up too. So, yeah, right move, but I thought just terrible execution because it was just nothing. They didn't earn it in any kind of storyline to just make a new champion. Obviously, if nobody beats Roman for the championship, then this World Heavyweight Championship is only going to be second fiddle, right? It's always going to be that way. So, I don't know.
It does seem weird to me, like which brand. I don't know. I'm still confused as to like which fucking brand it's supposed to be for, and
it's going to be for Raw now.
Okay.
Because Roman got drafted, and that was the thing Triple H was talking about where he said, whatever brand Roman gets drafted to, he takes the Universal title with him. The other brand gets the World Heavyweight Championship. And now it looks like that's going to be on Monday Night Raw. And you have the likes of Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, those guys are going to be vying for that championship. It looks like Braun Strowman's also on Monday Night Raw. Drew McIntyre. Do we see a heel Drew McIntyre emerge from this? I don't know. That could be Shinsuke Nakamura. He was a big get in the draft, a guy that will probably hover around the main event scene on Monday Night Raw for that championship. So they have options here, and it's the way to go. But like I said, if nobody ends up beating Roman, this is just going to be like it was back in the day, where you're going to have a 1A champion and the other one's going to be a B plus champion because they didn't beat the dude to get it.
Yeah. Yeah, and he hasn't been on in at least a few weeks at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going to do this, why not have Roman Reigns? It makes all the sense in the world. You could have had Roman defend one belt on Saturday night. It's a tough, hard-fought victory. Holy shit, Roman just he sneaked out yet again with the fucking title, but he's got to defend it again Sunday. And then you build in all kinds of excuses for him that he can bitch about as to why he lost one of the belts on Sunday night of WrestleMania, because he was tired, because he's pulling double duty up, blah blah blah. Like, it just makes way more sense to do it that way. If you knew you were gonna do this 2 months later, why not just have it happen at WrestleMania where it means something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking back at the list now, and it's Rhea Ripley on Raw, Gunther to Raw, which is new, so that's different.
So that's one of the things that we predicted, right? I think we said when they were doing the draft, hey, don't be surprised if Gunther and the Intercontinental Championship go to Monday Night Raw. Austin Theory goes to SmackDown, just because Monday Night Raw is 3 hours. Gunther is already he's a bigger star than Austin Theory. Plus, he has the stable of guys with Imperium, so he can kind of be involved in a little bit more storylines on Monday Night Raw, where there's an extra hour you're having a program. I was surprised at the Rhea Ripley Bianca Belair.
Yeah, that seemed a little odd to me as well. Because
so they haven't decided what they're going to do because we have Backlash coming up.
Right.
And Triple H had mentioned like the rosters will be set post Backlash. That's when this goes into effect. But are they going to just switch titles?
Yeah, good question.
They've done that before with Becky Lynch and Charlotte, and that last time it did not go. It did not go so well. If you remember, that's where the whole Becky and Charlotte threw the title down and all that's the stuff that came out of it. So yeah, I don't know. That was a little bit surprising. I love the way they did the draft, though. I liked let me back up. I liked that they had legends come out and announce the draft picks. I'm still not 100% sure who the hell was doing the picks. Like, who was picking for Monday Night Raw and who was picking for SmackDown. That's where you need an authority figure, because the whole point of a draft is to try to beat the competition and draft the best players or the best wrestlers or whatever. That's how every draft in any kind of major sports works. A little bit weird that only Adam Pearce has ever been presented recently as the authority figure. So I guess he was just drafting for himself. I don't know.
Yeah, changing hats and picking for each side. Yeah, it was cool. I did think it was weird, like you said, the women's titles basically have switched, but Rhea has the SmackDown title on Raw for now, unless they change that.
And Bianca has the Raw title on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, yeah, it makes for an easy switch, I guess, if you're going to do that. Because Rhea Ripley is defending the belt at Backlash against Selena Vega. There is 0% chance that Selena Vega upsets Rhea Ripley for the title. Is it this week?
It's this Saturday, yeah.
This Saturday, yeah. So there's no way in hell that that's happening. You just give Selena Vega that spot. She's Puerto Rican. It's in her home country. So, it's much like Damian Priest, it's just a good spot for them to be in.
Sure. Yeah. The only, I just saw one a minute ago. Strowman and Ricochet to Raw was a pretty big one, at least in terms of current stories or current teams. and now I'm down to the SmackDown list. It's funny how I'm looking at something called 411 Mania because I wanted them to just be all in one row or one column so I could see them all at once. But they got some of the same ones: Charlotte Flair, of course, Roman and the Usos, the Bloodline, etc. Street Profits came over to SmackDown. They had typically been on Raw. Am I correct, or is it all running together?
No, I think, well, they had kind of been back and forth. See, that's another thing too. This is weird because like these guys have been on both shows. A
Yeah,
bunch of these men and women have been on both shows. So we'll see how much, how little or how much crossover there is after this weekend.
yeah,
There's a couple of people I think that have put themselves now that if the rosters do get split and there's another championship, you got to be looking at a guy like LA Knight. Is he going to win a championship here in the near future? That United States championship would look really
yeah.
good over his shoulder.
Well, yeah, he put
SmackDown.
on a good show the other night with Butch too on SmackDown.
Yeah, and then you have to think. I guess the favorite would probably be Seth Rollins to be the first new world heavyweight championship. I don't see how you would give that to Cody Rhodes. I guess they could, but Cody's still in the midst of his story right now. So I think having Seth, you could have a weird little triangle here, right? Seth's never beat Cody. Roman can't beat Seth. And, is that how it works? Yeah. Yeah, Roman can't beat Seth, and Seth can't beat Cody, and Cody can't beat Roman. So now you have a three-way little thing here that's kind of emerged because all the rumors still saying that like Cody versus Roman is still the favorite to headline next year's WrestleMania. So we'll see. They're on separate brands right now. We'll see how they get there.
Yeah,
If that's the case in 12 months. But overall, I love drafts, and you have enough stars to carry both shows independently. So I think a brand split like this is the way to go. Although they should just put the fucking World Heavyweight Championship on Dominic Mysterio.
I saw your tweet from our account. Was it yesterday? Day before yesterday?
Yeah, it was on Monday Night Raw when I was fucking watching, and
right, yeah.
Dominic starts to talk, and he just gets booed. Booed out of the building is a thing that a lot of people say. Very rarely does it happen. That man got booed out of the building.
Yeah.
There is no one who has had the kind of glow up that he's had over this past year. You think about where he was, 12, 18 months ago to where he is now. There's nobody getting any kind of reaction in pro wrestling the way Dominic Mysterio is getting it.
Nobody has grown a mullet like that.
Oh, no. And you could tell, like, when he goes to talk and the crowd it's just a chorus of boos. Everybody in Judgment Day has to like hide their smiles.
Yeah.
Because even he is like kind of cracking up a little bit. And I love that Finn gets in there like, you let him talk. Because he's just not going to get anything. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I'm loving everything Dominic Mysterio is doing. And Backlash should be fun this weekend. Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest. I think the crowd is going to be into it, into the whole show, really, start to finish. But they're damn sure going to be into that match because Bad Bunny is, this is, I guess you'd have to say this is the biggest celebrity WWE's ever had, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean,
this dude is the biggest recording artist in the world. He's primarily Spanish speaking, and all his music is in Spanish. So I don't feel like it's really translating to probably a mainstream WWE crowd the way that it would, if this was, I don't know if this was on The Weekend or whatever like that. But I got to look, and there's like 380 million people who speak English as a first language. Now, obviously, there's way more people that speak English in general than Spanish, just because English as a second language is huge all across the world. But there's like 450 million people who primarily speak Spanish as a first language. So, when people talk about this dude being the biggest artist in the world, like it is no joke. He is up there.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll get a lot of attention for sure. I won't get to watch it live. I'll have to wait and watch it on Sunday. Um, there's going to be a couple of good ones. I think the Bad Bunny and Damian Priest should be fun. Of course, you got Cody versus Brock, and then Rhea versus Zelina. What you said earlier, like she's getting that one because you know hometown or whatever. But I don't know. She looked pretty good in what they were doing Friday night. So I mean, it'll at least be a good show, if nothing else. Hopefully,
Yeah,
and
like I
then,
said, I think the crowd's going to be
yeah,
just insane.
I
That's what I'm looking forward to the most. Yeah, and Bad Bunny seems game, man. He seems game for whatever.
yeah
He was a couple weeks ago. He was fucking swinging that kendo stick for the fences, man.
yeah
He wasn't pulling it at all.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited. It should be good. I would be weird. It's going to be interesting, I guess, to see what they do with Cody and Brock. If they just let Cody beat him, straight up, or if Brock gets DQ'd, how they book themselves out of that situation.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? Also, I'm not really interested in that one. I think I've made my thoughts on Lesnar pretty clear over the course of our previous shows.
Yeah, but then there's the big six man too.
Yeah,
Kevin, Sammy, and Riddle versus Usos
Usos and
and
Solo.
Solo. Yeah,
Yeah, that should be good. The Usos with versus KO and Sammy on Friday night was really good too. Um, Solid rematch. A lot of good stuff happened in that one. And then you got Bianca versus Io Sky, and then Austin Theory versus Bobby Lashley versus Bronson Reed. Could care less about that one. And then Seth versus Omos, which
came out of nowhere.
yeah,
Absolutely came out of nowhere. I mean, they keep talking about Omos like he's this big monster, but at some point he's got to beat somebody, right?
right.
So I mean, I don't see how you would. I don't see why you would have Omos beat Seth Rollins right now, particularly if Seth is the guy that you have on tap to lead this new championship.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you could have given Omos anybody else if you wanted him on the card,
Right,
But
right. Put him in that Bronson Reed match or something. I don't know.
yeah, you could have anything like that where any kind of multi-man match where he can look like a monster and not have to win but not be pinned.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a perfect spot for him. But yeah, for whatever reason, they're doing Rollins versus Omos.
I'll probably, honestly, if I'm only going to get to watch until I have to wait and watch on Sunday, I'll probably only watch a couple of 3 of those matches. Unless I just get a lot of extra time, but I know I'll have some stuff to get done on Sunday, and then Succession will be on that night, so I got to watch Succession that night. So yeah, I mean, there'll be some good ones. I think maybe it would be an entertaining show. And then is SummerSlam next, or is there one more before that?
I believe it's what's Money in the Bank over in Europe.
Gotcha.
Would be next. You have to think Roman Reigns is probably on that card in some kind of capacity.
Yeah.
And then who would be the Money in the Bank winner?
Well, unless you've got anything else for WWE this week, I want to go ahead and switch gears a little quicker over to AEW because there's several things I'd like to cover. Unless you've got something else we need to wrap up.
No. Let's go over to AEW.
So, a couple things. Just first and foremost, I don't know if everybody else is watching All Access. I got a little invested in that show because I like the documentary aspect of it. It is a little weird seeing some of the people interact backstage. I mean, I've worked backstage on things enough. I know what kind of stuff happens, but like, I was super into it the first few weeks, and then last night and even like last week, I was like, okay, well, this could get old real fast. And then after it happened again last night, I was like, yeah, this is definitely getting old. The previous weeks, Ty Mello complaining about not being in a story or in a match was just getting super old. I was like, okay, well, can we move on from that? And then last night it happened with Sammy because he hadn't been on TV in 2 weeks, and like I had kind of started being a Sammy fan because I was like, man, this kid, works hard and this, that, and the other, and seems like a decent guy. Even though I know his character is a piece of shit, but like I was like, well, don't make me like Sammy. And then of course last night he comes out with the maybe I got to go talk to Tony. I just got to talk to Tony, man. I haven't been on TV in 2 weeks. And you and I had like a real quick conversation before we started recording. I was like, yeah, there's a lot of people that hadn't been on fucking TV.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, I want a singles run. I was like, well, okay, fine. But then like he goes to talk to Tony after the fucking show that night after Dynamite. And Tony whips out this fucking huge piece of paper. It was like probably an 18 by 24, 11 by 17, big ass piece of paper. And he's got a list of like everything that's going to happen for the next several months. And he's like, well, I've got you in this, I got you in that, I got you in doubles, and I got you in a trios, and this, that, and the other. And Sammy's like, yeah, I'd really like to get in some singles and be in contention for the big belt or whatever. I'm like, I doubt that any of that had to do with them getting this Pillars 4-way match that we're currently in, but like that part's getting old real fast. I do hope they move away from that shit every week. But on the other hand, it was interesting getting to see Adam Cole get back to some in-ring work. He had a little interaction with Kenny at the gym where they were, trying some bumps and moving around for the doctors and stuff like that. And it looks like next week on All Access is when we see him get rolled in the wheelchair behind the scenes or whatever, when they snuck him in to surprise everybody. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting, but that part could get old real quick. And I did want to talk to you a little bit about one thing we've bitched about for a long time is lack of writing and nobody really helping Tony out. And did you get to read the thing I sent you today about their newest signee?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so it looks like they're going to have a little bit of creative control is going to be relinquished. It doesn't look like TK is going to be the only one. Let me pull that article back up. Ringside News says, and I saw it in a couple other places, Tony Khan's responsibilities after AEW hired new long-term creative writer. Here it is. Will Washington is being brought in. Do you know who he is?
Oh, yeah, it's the Fightful guy. He's being brought in creative capacity?
Yeah. Okay. So it says
I did see the Will Washington is All Elite, but I didn't know it was in any kind of creative capacity. I thought it was in a more administrative type role.
Yeah, this is among the duties Washington will be helping with or overseeing continuity and aiding in long-term creative, working directly with Tony Khan. He's had, over 18 years in podcasting. So that's cool.
Yeah, I guess I didn't know it was a creative capacity because his role is director of wrestling administration, which that's not even, what is that? That's just a word salad. That's not even a thing.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that should be good. We've talked about this all the time. Like, there has to be some other kind of voice in the room to just pitch ideas or to just be like, hey, that doesn't make sense because 3 weeks ago we did this, or like, hey, here's an idea. What do we do with this? Like, yeah, it's too, especially now and we didn't get to talk about this last week, but now it seems like this AEW Collision on Saturday is going to actually be a thing. They're going to split the roster. There's going to be another show. Now you've gone from 2 hours of programming to, you had 3 hours with Ring of Honor. Now you're going to do another 2 hours. That's 5. Like, that's a lot of fucking television to be writing every single week.
Right.
So, if that is the case, then it's good that there's at least somebody else in that room that can pitch some ideas.
Yeah, the one that I just read a lot of it came from Meltzer. And it says that, he's always had people to lean on a little bit backstage, like QT, Sanjay Dutt, and others. And that, others like Jericho and MJF and the Bucks have clearly have a lot of input about their characters, but
But those guys are not those guys are not, well, I shouldn't say that they're not doing this, but it's highly unlikely that they're keeping their character plus everybody else's character in the forefront of their minds at all times.
right.
And that's where you need somebody that is not involved in trying to get over any particular wrestling character or personality, but is looking at the whole totality of the show.
Yeah.
So no, it's good because listen, AEW could use some fresh ideas for sure.
Yeah, apparently they're going to shut down Dark and Elevation because of something to do with the new deal with TBS and Warner or whatever. And since they're going to have the new Saturday show, and they're going to be using ROH a little more in terms of the, trying out new talent and stuff like that. So,
which is what we said they should have done from the get-go.
Right.
Which makes, a signing like Roderick Strong, who debuted last week, he is such a perfect guy to have. And I would stick him, I would have him be involved with Adam Cole, but I would put him in Ring of Honor too as just a trainer or a coach. That guy has been one of the best in-ring technicians of his generation. And so there's a lot of utility. It's a very smart signing for AEW. There's a lot of utility in just grabbing a bunch of those guys as possible who just know fucking pro wrestling. And yeah, Roderick has never been the greatest, he's never been the best promo. His wrestling character is basically just like, I'm fucking good at wrestling and I do backbreakers, which, there's a ceiling to that. And he's probably hit it in his career. Probably never going to be a world champion. Now, I think that there's an interesting story you could do with him because he has the pedigree of Ring of Honor and spent so much time there. He never won a world championship in Ring of Honor, I don't think. So could you do something where, he wins the Ring of Honor world title at some point? That could be something. But that's why if a guy like Roderick Strong becomes available, that's why you go get those guys. Because you can slate them at a bunch of different roles backstage, producer, agent, coach. There's a lot of utility in having a guy like that in your back pocket that you can use.
Yeah.
That's why QT's continued to have a job, right?
Right.
We hear everybody, we've heard Cody Rhodes talk about all the time, like QT is an excellent trainer, excellent coach.
Yeah.
Not the greatest wrestling character, but not every coach, Andy Reid was never a Super Bowl winning quarterback, right?
Right.
But he's fucking won 2 Super Bowls now as a head coach and could win a third one. So it's the same like any kind of sports out there.
Yeah. Did you get to see Dynamite this week?
Yeah, I watched Dynamite.
Yeah, there was some decent stuff happening last night. Our boy Ricky Starks got the win over Juice Robinson. That was a good match.
Yeah, little. I don't know why they had Ricky win already.
Yeah, I mean they're just trying. I guess they're setting up him versus Jay White, and that'll probably be. Do you think they'll do that at the pay-per-view, or will they do it before that?
No, that's probably Jay versus Ricky at Double or Nothing at the pay-per-view. But why would you not? I don't know. It's just weird to have the babyface go ahead. And I get that it was against Juice Robinson and not against Jay White, but very rarely does AEW do DQ finishes. Now I realize they did one last week, I believe, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. But yeah, why not have Jay White just run in and start beating down Ricky and get the DQ? It was just kind of weird to have Ricky pin Juice clean in the middle of the ring like that. And then you have the Jay White come out and beat him down.
Yeah. They had Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, defeated Sammy Guevara and MJF, which you could see coming from a mile away to get the 4-way. But it was interesting that Sammy, turned on MJF and kicked the fuck out of him there near the end.
Yeah, the only thing that's questionable to me is Double or Nothing's not till May 28th.
Yeah.
And this basically, what are you going to do in the main event scene for the next 3 weeks? Because you could have just had this match be the go home show, right? 3 weeks from now, this
Right.
tag team match. Hey, if you guys win, and then you get a little bit more run out of Sammy and MJF, which was kind of, they had some chemistry there. It was funny. You could have got 3 more weeks out of those two guys being, sort of Sammy being the idiot to MJF. So I don't know. It would have to make you think that they have something else in their back pocket that they want to do for the next 3 weeks. But I don't know if it will be as entertaining as what the potential pairing of Sammy and MJF could have been. And, then you could have had Jungle Boy and Darby. Everybody could have found their roles. It didn't feel like a go-home show for the pay-per-view, but the main event felt like a go-home match for a pay-per-view. And the pay-per-view is still 3 minutes away, or 3 months away, 3 weeks away. Shit.
We'll get there.
Whenever the fuck it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just kind of seems like Double or Nothing. Doesn't it seem like with the Wembley announcement though that it's kind of overshadowed Double or Nothing quite a bit?
Yeah, a little bit. And we can touch on those ticket numbers in a little bit too. Yeah, but isn't there even like another pay-per-view? Like Forbidden Door will be before that, right?
Yeah, it will.
Will be before Wembley.
But when you make the announcement that you're running Wembley Stadium and you're going to put tens and tens of thousands of people in there, it automatically kind of goes to the forefront of this is the most important thing that the company is doing right now.
Yeah.
And I think everything else kind of feels like we're not necessarily that we're biding our time to get to Wembley, but like we're saving all our stuff for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and talk about that, and let's switch gears over to Wembley for a second. There's a lot of doubt and speculation about them selling 90,000 tickets, and then some of the tickets went on sale earlier this week, and it looks like they've already sold 40 or 50,000, something like that.
I think it was 40 is what they were saying on Dynamite Wednesday night.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of tickets for just the initial ones that were released or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's also speculation that there could be another new big signee or whatever for that show. Have you read anything about that?
I didn't read that. Who are they speculating?
Well, I haven't seen any speculation about who. That's what I was going to ask you. Do you have any thoughts on what that could be?
I mean, it has to be one of two people. It either has to be Drew McIntyre or Mercedes Moné, right?
Yeah.
Who else would be the other big free agent signing that we've heard rumors of? Now, it could be somebody, we didn't hear that Roderick Strong's contract was up and they just signed him. So, it could be another one of those situations. But if you're going to tease that or if the rumors are going to be out there that it's a big signing, then in the context of Wembley, Drew McIntyre makes sense out of what we've heard. And then the only other big signing that is out there that's wrestling, that's not on Impact or WWE right now, was, Mercedes, who is doing her thing in Japan.
Yeah, and I've seen things about her contract there being up soon, and I was like, well, what the fuck kind of contract did she sign? Because that will have been less than a year, right?
Yeah, I mean, 6 months?
Yeah, that would seem odd, but I mean, not unbelievable, I guess. There have been rumors going around too about maybe Goldberg getting a retirement match because he was pissed that WWE never really officially gave him one. And apparently, I guess in the last week or two, his contract was up, and he has made it known that he was unhappy. That would be weird, though.
Yeah, this ain't the AEW ain't the fan base,
right?
Yeah, this is not the fan base. Although Goldberg is Jewish, MJF is Jewish, I'd be down as shit for MJF. Teases that he's gonna get an enforcer to watch his back, and it's fucking Goldberg. I'd be down for that. That would be cool. But I highly doubt that that's what that's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know.
A lot of rumors that I've heard out there in different podcasts have speculated that, and a couple of people have pitched this idea. I think it's actually a pretty good idea. MJF versus Sting in a title versus career match
Mm,
could headline Wembley Stadium, and I think that I'd be down for that too because that saves MJF one of these other big
mm-hmm.
feuds that he could have this year. Uh, the match doesn't have to be great because it's just the gravitas of having Sting, and this could be his last match, and then you get the rub because MJF is the guy that puts out Sting, and so it all that could be something. Now whether they do it or not, I don't know. And Sting might say like, "Look, I want my last match to be against Darby."
Yeah.
And that could be out there too, but yeah, there's just a bunch of different ways that they could go for Wembley, but
Yeah, that's not a bad idea because, he came out the other night and was like, hey, showtime's almost over or whatever he said,
yeah, yeah. But we got to get there though.
Right.
And that's, Wembley's not till August 27th. That's a long way away.
Yeah.
And so, we talked about this before too. AEW does not have the luxury of having a 50-year head start the way WWE has, where they can kind of, piddle paddle around for months at a time and kind of wait. Like they need to be putting on big stuff week in and week out and having awesome shows. And like they just go through these lulls, man. And Wednesday night wasn't bad, but like it wasn't, oh my gosh, I have to watch next week to see what happens.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I'm still in a come down period after WrestleMania. Like, just the excitement isn't there right now in any of the stories. Like, I feel like they dropped the ball with the bloodline stuff, and then I just don't know that this build to Double or Nothing is that big for me right now. I mean, there'll be some great matches. Their pay-per-views are always the shit. AEW's are.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no question that when I watch Double or Nothing, I'll feel like I'll get my money's worth for sure. I've always felt that, but like like you said, the excitement is kind of just not there because like Adam Cole's cool. I like Adam Cole a lot. Do I want to see him feud with Chris Jericho? Not really. Like
I don't know, man.
On that,
I've been that way, but I did get a charge last night when he got, because it looked a little more real than usual, like in terms of when he charged the desk, the announcer's desk, and then basically knocked the whole fucking curtain over and had Jericho essentially backstage.
Yeah, but here's what I'm going to be, nitpicker Patrick. It's like Jericho was fucking staring at the monitor at the desk. He acted like he didn't see Cole coming.
Yeah.
He's fucking looking at the monitor. Again, that's what I'm talking about. That's one of them guys where like, and maybe having a guy like Will Washington being in the room for things like this, like you can catch those kind of things because you're not strung out trying to do 19 different things where somebody brings you an idea and is like, hey, Adam's at the end of the match, Adam's going to, rush Chris and knock him off the, go through the set. And then you go, okay, well, what is Chris doing? Is Chris, Chris just can't be looking at the monitor because in real life, he would see Adam Cole coming and run or do anything like that, and he was just kind of They even cut to it weird where like Chris like he was like looking up but then saw that the camera was on him, so he looked back down at his monitor. It was just, I don't know, the whole thing was just fucking weird. And it's details like that kind of just, they don't pull me out of the show. Obviously, I still love AEW, but like it's just, these are the things that we need to kind of tighten up because they kind of, I don't know. They kind of bring the product down just a little bit, not a lot, but just a little bit.
So, speaking of people not being on TV, am I crazy or has Hangman been gone for a little bit?
He's been gone for a while, yeah.
I don't think he's injured or anything. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, but even if they brought him back, what are they going to do with him?
Yeah.
I mean, Kenny has his own thing right now. He looks like he's going to be going solo up against Combat Club for a little bit of time here. Obviously, because, in storyline, they wrote the Young Bucks off TV for a little bit.
Yeah. But then they've been on every week. Like, like Matt, was it Matt or Nick? One of them was injured, and then the other one was supposedly injured, but then they were both on TV. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird.
Were the Young Bucks on TV last week?
I think they were. I think it was just like a backstage deal or whatever.
Okay, yeah. I'm about to say they weren't.
They weren't wrestling.
They didn't have anything to do Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Unless I missed something. It was just that Kenny Omega promo.
Yeah. So he and Moxley next week in the steel cage.
Which should be really good.
Yeah, that would be insane.
That should be good. But yeah, there was from Dynamite. I'll tell you the one thing that I absolutely love from Dynamite, and I will never not get enough of this man being on television. Mark Briscoe.
Yeah.
Is just, he has so much charisma.
Yeah.
To the point where he opens up that door. I love the fact that like Satnam and Jay, I love that stupid shit like that. Like the dumb heels and it's comedy or whatever like that. And then Papa Briscoe.
Yeah.
Papa Briscoe's the man. Just he just cool as a cucumber. And I love the interaction between all those guys. More invisible camera stuff last night from the show. That's one thing I kind of took away from it, that, you know, hey, we need to get back to doing this, because obviously them going out to the Briscoe compound, that was like, you know, classic WWE type thing. But then you had the Darby and Jungle Boy interaction with MJF coming into the locker room.
Yeah,
that was all invisible camera stuff. And again, you need those kind of elements to do a little bit more storytelling. You know, everything doesn't have to be attached to a reporter backstage or an interviewer backstage. I don't think. They've shied away from that here recently because we've heard rumors that Tony just doesn't like that kind of stuff. But like the Jungle Boy Darby MJF interaction last night was good leading up to the main event.
Yeah.
Because it puts a little bit more distrust. All these guys, like, you know, Darby and Jack are on the same team tonight, but they really can't trust each other, right? Because they're both going for the same prize. And then MJF being just, again, that little interaction shows us how smart of a character he is, right? Because he knows he can just be in that room, and when Darby shows back up, it's going to sow those seeds of distrust that he then can try to capitalize on later on in the match. Like, it's just all kinds of little things like that, where if you have an interviewer, there's no way you can do that segment that they did before the main event, because it just doesn't, it's not going to make any sense whatsoever.
Speaking of people being on TV, I wish I would have written it down, but of course I didn't. Did you see Rampage?
I did not.
Stokely had one in a backstage segment that was just fucking hilarious. I should have. God, now it just sounds stupid. I'm like, oh, he made it funny.
Rampage this week though should be the compound deletion.
Yeah, that'll be good.
The cinematic match that should be fun to watch. And then I love the House of Black. With now they're going to have these new rules, the open house rules.
Yeah,
and I love when everybody's like, "Here are the rules. We're going to lay it out for you." Like, you know, no rope breaks, nothing like that. So that's cool, because that adds a different element to their character. Not sure that I would put the Acclaimed right up against House of Black, particularly because House of Black, I know that they operate as heels, but they are not bad guys. The fans fucking love them.
Right.
So, I don't know. They're, you know, Butcher and Blade or Varsity Athletes or, you know, one of these other trios teams could have got the win to go up against House of Black.
Yeah.
But and I just don't really know if that pairing works. The Acclaimed have been, you know, Max Caster does his raps. Do you really want him to be launching those barbs up against a team like House of Black that you have a lot of stock invested in?
Yeah.
And House of Black still throwing out those verbal jabs out there to the Elite and to the Young Bucks. You know, you have to think at some point, when does that come to fruition?
Yeah. Yeah, good questions. The another weird thing I wanted to bring up from last night was, you know, Wardlow was a squash match, and then he calls out Christian to bring out Luchasaurus, and then Christian was like, "You know what? I think I'm gonna fight you instead." And I was like, "What? Why? What? Like, what do we? What's happening here?"
I think that's just a way to, Christian playing those mind games. We'll see where that story leads. I think the even weirder part is to having Arn Anderson in Wardlow's corner, like,
Yeah,
because
where'd that come from?
yeah, well, Wardlow's supposed to be this ass kicker. That's what he's portrayed as, and this kind of lone wolf. Literally, there's a fucking wolf that howls at the beginning of his music when it comes out. Why does he need a coach? Like, I don't know. That's a little bit weird. Now I get why Tony probably wanted to pair him because, we've talked about how Wardlow's character has kind of been stale for a while now. I mean, you think back to where he was at when he was doing his thing with MJF. I mean, the crowd was chanting his name, and now he kind of comes out, and I mean, he still gets a little bit of a pop, but it is nothing like what it was.
Yeah, no,
not even close. So you have to think that they've kind of let the momentum go a little bit dry with Wardlow. Maybe they're trying to get it back. I don't know. We'll see if they're successful in that. I don't know if Wardlow versus Luchasaurus is going to be what does it, but we'll see. Luchasaurus has he has a better look now. He still has a dumbass name, but I guess I'm not going to win that battle whatsoever. So Luchasaurus makes sense if you were trying to be a good guy because you can sell a lot of merchandise to kids.
yeah,
But if you're going to be basically just AEW's version of Kane, Luchasaurus is not the name that's going to inspire fear into your opponents whatsoever.
yeah, because back when you had, I guess, that going on, and Chris Statlander was supposedly an alien, and there were, you had some weird sci-fi whatever elements, fantasy elements to some of the characters, but they dropped that part of her character, right? And then you still got this dude out there with the dinosaur name.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I said, AEW is just kind of in a weird spot because it seems like they have a pay-per-view coming up, but maybe their sights are set on bigger things and trying to put a shit ton of people into an arena, because they even mentioned it a ton of times on the broadcast last night. And like you said, there's another pay-per-view in between here and there before you get there. Forbidden Door, which Forbidden Door is always kind of like its own little thing anyway, right?
Sure.
It'll have like a 3-week build up, and you'll have some New Japan guys come in, and it'll kind of AEW will kind of go on pause. And then of course we know how bonkers the Forbidden Door pay-per-view is probably going to be. I mean, last year it was the best wrestling pay-per-view I've ever seen personally, as far as match quality, top to bottom.
Yeah, that shit was awesome.
Yeah, it was insane.
For the love of God, can we get Kingston back on AEW for that? Can we put him back on TV?
Yeah, again, Kingston is a guy kind of MIA, like you talked about, Hangman, MIA. And look, maybe that's going to be some good when they split these rosters. Looks like one is going to be the Elite and Blackpool Combat Club, and the other one is going to be headed up by Punk and Chris Jericho. Meltzer reported that they either Punk and Jericho had their meeting or about to have their meeting.
Yeah, I think they did already.
Yeah, so, who else is going to fill out that Saturday show? Obviously, FTR. They weren't on the Dynamite this week, but they teased that they'll have something to say next week. So, and then when is the announcement of the show going to be?
Yeah.
I think they said it was slated to start sometime in June, right? It's fucking May 4th right now. Do they announce it? Do they announce it at the pay-per-view?
I mean, yeah, that seems last minute, but and what are they gonna how are they gonna do the split?
Well, it probably will just be more subtle than like Tony Khan coming out and saying we're going to have a draft. It'll just kind of be like oh, these guys are on Dynamite every single week. These guys are on Collision every single week, and we
Yeah.
kind of just know it that way. But yeah, it's yeah, wrestling. We're kind of just we're kind of in that lull, like you said, post WrestleMania, where it's just kind of like there's things happening, but I don't know if I'm really super excited about it. Obviously, that could change in a moment's notice, right?
Yeah. I'm excited to get to a live event though. Like I saw today on Facebook that Dump Sanders posted that there's going to be a couple of events in Huntsville for New South, and then he said the Game Changer is definitely. I think he said June, like 24th or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So they'll come back. So yeah,
Um,
it'll be a good summer for wrestling. You
yeah,
know, for us here in Alabama and for WWE and AEW, I'm sure. But like the spring right now is just kind of post WrestleMania, and
yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
yeah. In terms of like what's on TV or whatever, have you been watching any of the Ring of Honor stuff still?
Not really. Mm-mm.
Um,
I hadn't even really kept up with it. I know that Kingston lost the match against Claudio, and that was kind of yeah. I don't even know what the stories in Ring of Honor are right now.
yeah, I don't know either. Um, just curious. I know Lucha Brothers won the tag team titles, right?
Yeah, they came out with them Wednesday night, the Ring of Honor tag team
Yeah,
titles.
yeah. Yeah, I know they had said that Phoenix was injured, but that he was making a quicker recovery, and then they come running out last night. I was like, well, shit, I guess he's okay. Or okay enough to be on TV for a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean the Kingo, he's getting even more run here in America.
Yeah, that was nice.
He's probably gotten more spots here in America than he's gotten for damn AAA in Mexico. I think somebody posted like he's defended that belt in the past 12 months more on AEW than he has in AAA. So, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's a boy, that's a hell of a trio team, right?
Yeah, no shit.
Penta, Phoenix, Vikingo. Yeah, even that, like, usually when we come on this podcast, even when we're like, the stories in AEW are kind of meh, but the wrestling was like top notch. Even last Wednesday night, that really wasn't the case. The wrestling was just kind of, I don't know.
I mean, there were moments like
There were moments, and I hate to use it like that, but it felt very WWE ish, didn't it?
yeah, a little bit,
The whole show felt that way.
a little bit.
And like I said, there are good things to take from WWE, like the invisible camera stuff. I thought that was really great. The going out to the Briscoe farm, thought that was fantastic. But putting the dudes who were going to be in the main event in a tag team match is like classic Vince McMahon WWE booking. Like that's just how. Oh, here are all these dudes. Let's put them in a tag team match. Like that's straight up. That's out of that playbook. And there are times to do it, and
Yeah, like
I think
Orange Cassidy and Bandito and Adam Cole and
yeah, yeah. And I mean the good thing about the Four Pillars tag team match was like by design they kind of have to not go out there and give it their all, right? Because they have to make you want to pay your money to see them all wrestle. So that's why they were doing like the classic kind of Memphis wrestling spots where the heels distract the ref and they choke them out with the scarf, and then the baby faces get on top. Like that's just old school wrestling shit that they're not going to do at the pay-per-view, right? But they have to kind of bide their time to get there. If they're going to be in this match, we got to figure out something to do.
yeah,
So smart call in that stance of it. But yeah, I don't know.
just a weird time, man. Just a weird time. Oh well, I guess that'll pretty much wrap it up for the week then, unless you got anything else you want to cover.
No, I don't think I have anything. The more Mark Briscoe I can get, the better.
Yeah,
That should be the reality show. You were complaining about the All Access show. Just fucking put a camera, have Mark Briscoe. Just dude, they're so kind of like Takeshita. Fucking have a camera follow him around. Have a camera follow around Mark Briscoe. Like, it seems like the All Access show, and I don't know how they filmed it. It seems like it's all only filmed on show days backstage, right?
yeah,
We got the premiere episode had the one little thing with Britt and Adam in their personal life, but like it seems like for the majority of this, it's just filmed backstage, which I think is a miss. I mean, even with Total Divas, they would, take these women and like, send them to Paris for a week or whatever the fuck, and film shit there.
There's a little bit that's not on show day, like like the stuff with Adam Cole at the gym or whatever. But yeah, for the most part, it's show day. I mean, it makes sense. They can grab people and shoot little things here and there, and basically not have to probably send any more crew. They probably just got people there,
Yeah, but it seems like a missed opportunity because the reason I think that you want to do this reality show is that you try to pull more people into your fan base. And so like that was the success of Total Divas is it got, women, it was on the E Network. Women love E Network. It skewed female. They love reality television. And so WWE is going to, have a product that's in that lane. I don't know if a lot of people, unless you're a wrestling fan like us, do you really care about all the backstage stuff that much? What you would care about, and what I thought when I saw the preview for this show was that it was going to be mostly about Adam Cole recovering from this potentially career-ending injury and all, seeing his family and all that kind of stuff. That's a normal human element that you can hook people in, and then you give them, the wrestling. But like just having this be like having Sammy Guevara go meet with Tony Khan because he's pissed off about not being on TV is not the type of shit that is going to do them any favors in terms of trying to make new fans based off a reality show.
For sure.
It's too inside baseball.
It's too bitchy.
Well, it's that too. Well, people love good bitchy stuff, but like if you just
quit bitching, Sammy,
it needs to be something else other than wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll change. I don't know.
Maybe for the second season of All Access, they'll do it. But yeah, just don't. The second season of All Access, I would have very few moments that were backstage in AEW. Yeah. I would have these people, I would take these cameras into their house and stuff like that. That's where you have more potential for growth and trying to make new fans that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we covered a lot of ground, like a whole lot of ground. At first, when we were talking, I was like, well, I don't know what we'll cover. And then we ended up covering a lot more than what I thought we would. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. I hate to say that it's not good right now, but the thrill is not there for me right now. And I know it will be sooner than later again. But I don't know. Backlash, it just seems like, it's something to do on Sunday. If I get a couple of extra hours to try to watch a few matches, it doesn't seem like must see wrestling. So
yeah, this is the problem with pro wrestling, right? There's no off season.
Right.
There's no season finale.
True.
It's got to keep on going.
That's a good point. I haven't really thought about it like that.
Yeah. So I mean, it happens. I would say probably 6 weeks from now we'll probably come on this podcast and be all excited because something has caught our attention. But yeah, it comes and it goes in waves like this. But this is the kind of moments where somebody else can step up, right? Somebody like on WWE, this is prime time for like an LA Knight to really come into the fold, or on AEW for somebody else to kind of, while everything's sort of in a lull, somebody kind of step up and start taking the interest of fans a little bit. It feels like nobody's really done that on either company right now.
Yeah. You can tell that, fans are starting to pop to LA Knight more, but I just don't know that creative is giving him the things that he needs to get to the next level, right? Although he had a good match against Xavier Woods week before last, and then last week one versus Butch, and there were a couple really great spots in there, but I don't know, man. I feel like they could build him up a little better, but
I think he'll get there.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of men and women that benefit from this brand split. And he would be at the top of my list as one of the main people to do so.
Yeah. Well, I think that'll do it for us, man. If y'all don't already follow us on Twitter, follow us at Alabama Slam Pod, Twitter and Instagram. We're on Facebook at the Alabama Slam Podcast, and follow our network of other podcasters and friends at the Alabama Take. We've got pop culture podcasts, book podcasts, music podcasts, a bunch of other things happening over there right now. And from what I'm being told, our YouTube page for the Alabama Take is getting a little more coverage, and not coverage, but followers, subscribers these days. Most of our shows are listed, linked over there on YouTube as well, and they're in categories and all that stuff. You can go from one to the other if you'd like. And if you want a t-shirt, you can get on tpublic.com and just search for the Alabama Slam, and we'll come up. And we appreciate y'all listening, and hopefully we'll be a little more enthusiastic next week.
Yeah, see you guys later. Yeah.
All right, man.
Later.